For tens of thousands of years, Indigenous Australians hunted kangaroo for meat. It was a meat that made sense for the environment, and it still does. Unlike the cows and sheep introduced more recently by Europeans, kangaroos have evolved with the Australian ecosystem, and instead of hooves that cause erosion, they have soft feet that don't degrade the fragile rangeland. Kangaroos also have special bacteria in their stomach lining, so unlike cows and sheep, kangaroos can digest without emitting any methane. If you're going to eat meat, kangaroo makes sense, but it's been a hard sell to at least a large part of white Australians and politicians.
Alright, so we've got kangaroo today. Wayne? I started cooking kangaroo back in 1983 when kangaroo was still impossible to serve in New South Wales restaurants. I used to bring kangaroo from South Australia where it was actually legal to serve kangaroo, and consequently got myself in a fair bit of trouble with the New South Wales Health Department, which wanted to prosecute the restaurant for serving kangaroo meat, which was essentially illegal in New South Wales back then. So I challenged the Act, saying that the Act was actually racist because the New South Wales Pure Food Act of 1906, Section 17A, stated that kangaroo could not be stored in any other meats, usually eaten for human consumption. So therefore I challenged them then on the fact that, I said, well, it says that, not usually used for human consumption. Now, as far as I understand, Australian Aborigines have been in Australia for like the last 65,000 years. They've been eating kangaroo for the last 65,000 years. So who the hell are you to tell me that Aboriginal people or I can't eat kangaroo? And they kind of backed right off. And then by this stage we're in 1987, and kangaroo becomes legal to be served in New South Wales restaurants, which made it very interesting because then I got a call from the then New South Wales Agriculture Minister, personally, who said, Jean Paul, you've been such a fighter for kangaroo meats. We would like you to launch a product for the New South Wales government. And I thought, wow, so I got it. Anyway, I'll leave it to the chef. He's going to cook some for you.
So I'm just going to get some veg oil. Just a tiny bit of veg oil.
I've eaten kangaroo all my life. I mean, I love it. I think it's an excellent meat, and I often attribute my good health to eating kangaroo meat. There's no fat, as you can see on this. That's why it makes it, much more healthier than eating beef.
Like really nicely seasoned.
Less than 0.1% fat, rich in polyunsaturated fatty acids, rich in iron and other trace minerals. I mean, it's one of the reasons why kangaroo is exported and imported into Europe, for example. It's EU certified, which Australian beef is not, because of its the fact that Australian beef still given hormones, growth hormones.
It's a really quick meat. You normally serve it rare or medium rare. Anything more than that, it really dries out. Just going to take a couple of minutes either side, and then when that's done, I'm going to leave it to rest.
Has it reached sort of the mainstream in Australia?
Look, no. What the problem is with kangaroo, with its cooking, is that it's a meat that's so lean that it needs to be marinated in good oil, and then it's got to be seared blue, still blue heat, a very, very hot pan. So consequently what happens is it actually makes a lot of smoke when you sear it. So it's a lot harder to actually cook kangaroo at home because you need a lot of ventilation.
I'm from England, so it's a bit new to me as well. So Jean Paul's teaching me as I go. So it's a really interesting product. I really like the flavour as well. A lot of people just don't want to eat it because it's kangaroo, but I actually like it, so I think that's perfect.
In a 2008 survey, only about 15% of Australians claim to have eaten kangaroo more than 4 times in 1 year, whereas 80% of Australian households eat beef once a month.
I've heard from friends that there's some resistance to eating kangaroo because traditionally they've had to kill kangaroos because they're considered pests here. There's too many, and they've used it for dog meat or that type of thing. So oftentimes people will say, well, I don't eat dog meat.
Recently, some former vegetarians from Sydney decided to make kangaroo the only meat they eat. Calling themselves Kangatarians, they claim that kangaroo is an ethical choice because the animals spend their lives roaming free, eating only native plants, and are killed humanely.
The chef, Jean Paul Bruteneau, has a book on real Australian food. That's one of the things, it's in some ways, eating kangaroo is like getting back to the traditional way of eating in Australia. It's just what makes sense in this country.